Today, we're diving deep into Tableau Quest, a game-changing approach to unlocking value from Tableau and driving real adoptions to organizations. And who better to guide us through than the mastermind behind it? My guest today is none other than Fiona Gordon, co-founder of Dub Data and the architect of Tableau Quest. Fee has spent years helping businesses move beyond just using Tableau to actually embedding it into their DNA, tuning dashboards and decisions into data and action. She's seen it all, the highs, the lows, the hurdles, the aha moments, and today we're unpacking the real reasons why Tableau adoption fails and how Tableau Quest fixes that and whether AI is shaking up the game. Welcome, Fee.
Thanks for that intro, Sarah. Look, I think it's our 7th podcast. I think that we're getting more professional at this.
I'm actually a bit nervous. It's like I'm the solo host, even though you're my guest. It's still a bit different mixing it up today.
Well, maybe if it makes you feel any better. I also feel nervous because I feel a little underprepared for this. When we say that we're unscripted, we're definitely unscripted. I've got no idea what I'm going to be answering today. And given my experience in this space, I feel like, am I going to mess it up?
Hey, let's crack into it, and let's discuss first off, what is Tableau Quest and why did you create it?
Good question to start with. Well, Tableau Quest is a gamification program that helps take people who are creators or developers on the platform from rookies to rock stars. There's 5 different levels starting out at rookie, which introduces people to the platform, and slowly but surely we help people to elevate their skill sets and capabilities so they really nail the delivery of what they're doing for their clients or their stakeholders. And why did I start the Tableau Quest? Well, it was actually a really long time ago, I think 2017, where I started out at an organization and was asked to take a look at some of the dashboards that were coming in. And whilst the dashboards actually looked pretty, like they had some great design, I felt that they didn't necessarily help to elevate the insights or draw the insights out. So it was really easy for people to see. And I don't want to crush anyone's enthusiasm for their roles or what they do. But at the same time, I wanted to find a way that helped people to go through the journey of understanding the art of the possible in Tableau. So that was one thing, one cause of it. The other reason was that I felt that as adults that we struggle a little bit with understanding how to learn. When we're early in our career or we're at school, we're very much in that learning mode and really trying new things out. As we start to progress through our career, the expectation from leaders is, well, you should just know, and you should be able to turn that round quickly. And so people spend less time dedicated to learning themselves and more time on tools, just trying to figure things out. I really wanted to find a way to help adults unlock their learning potential again. I believed that the way to do that was through a gamification program that broke things down into training, so a little bit of the same sort of thing, online training, and then practice, which is where the majority of the magic happens, so creating that muscle memory and doing it in a fun way. And then the little cherry on top is certification, so getting badges and external credentials.
Yeah, I really like that. And just leaning in a little bit to people that are on different learning paths and so forth. Who would you say that the Tableau Quest is really designed for?
The Tableau Quest is definitely focused on people who are developers, but it can be for anyone, no matter how far or advanced you are within your skill sets in Tableau. I guarantee you'll always learn something new along the way. There are accelerators, so you don't have to start all the way at the beginning if you're already quite experienced, but it will throw you some challenges to help you to elevate and refine your design skills as you start to get more confident on the tools. But it's not for stakeholders. It's not for somebody who is reading a Tableau dashboard. So it's not a data fluency program in that respect.
You said a little bit around how Tableau Quest is really engaging and the gamification. How do you feel it compares to the, say, more traditional Tableau training that you see out there?
Well, I actually include the traditional Tableau training as part of the training component, because why not use an organization that's going to continually refresh their training in line with their product releases? But if you're anything like me, when you get faced with a bunch of online training programs or even classroom training, my eyes can tend to glaze over when it's just consistent training along the way. So what it does is it breaks up the training into different levels so that you get a little bit of training, but then it's time to really start experimenting with the challenges.
Yeah, I really like the challenge component. And like you said, it's such a major part. So although you're leveraging the Tableau training, which is very smart because they are, like you said, constantly updating it, you're really leaning into the challenge aspect, which I think is the way more exciting and a lot more for, people that are different, learn differently, neurodiversity. We see a lot of that in data and analytics. And I think that's a really great part. So thank you for that.
I know that you have spent a lot of time on challenges and that you actually committed to a year's worth of Makeover Monday. So I'm sure that you sign up for the challenge aspect and helping you to learn. Why did you decide to do challenges in that respect rather than training?
Yeah, I find a page of words exhausting. So if you give me a document that's just read this and do it, I won't get there. Whereas what I really enjoyed about Makeover Monday, and I would set myself this 1 hour time period, or when my old MacBook would crash, which could be 50 minutes or an hour and a half, depending on the day, it would give me this time box to just go and do it. And what I loved about the challenge is it was very separate from work as well. So it was something a bit fun and a bit more creative that I could do. And the learning I got out of it was amazing.
Yeah, I still use some of your Makeover Monday challenges when I'm teaching other people as well, because there's some standouts for me, like the rats in New York City. And I just love that one, having the heat map with 2 bar charts on, the upper level and the side level as well, because it gives just a really big snapshot, a key view and insights into the density of, or the repetition of how things are happening.
Yeah. Another part about doing challenges like this is you get a portfolio. So I as well have used things that I've done through the Makeover Monday challenge to then go and show clients of what is possible with Tableau. Okay, so I'm just going to move on a little bit and start talking about some of the struggles that, say, customers can have with Tableau adoption, and what are some of the biggest mistakes that you think organizations make when rolling out Tableau?
The first big mistake when anyone rolls out any product, not just Tableau, is the lack of change management behind it. So for any tech program to flourish and be successful, I highly recommend engaging with a change manager or giving someone a lot of time so they can learn all of the change management principles. But where that change manager will start first is identifying who the sponsor is of a program. And whilst people may not like to hear this, it's a very hierarchical thing in organizations. Perhaps we'll see some changes over, the next 10 years with a bit more self-organizing of teams occurring. But right now, for the success of any program within any organization, data related or not, it needs to have the sponsorship at the highest level where the hierarchy converges of the people that are going to have the impact. So for instance, rolling out a sales dashboard or a sales thing that all of your retail teams are going to need to adopt, you need to have the managing director of sales to be able to sponsor that. Otherwise, people are going to wonder, why am I going to spend my time changing if that guy or that woman is not saying this is one of the most important things for us to be doing this year? It also means that that sponsor can engage their, what we call the management coalition. So the management coalition are all the leaders that sit in that hierarchy below, and it's cascading information through them so that they understand the importance of why we are making that change as well. So if I think of a smaller Tableau deployment, and implementing Tableau, for instance, this may be just departmental. It may not be for everyone in a huge enterprise like you and I are used to working in, but, it could just be the department head, and having the department head sit through and explain to the change manager why are we changing? What is the risk of not changing? Identifying all of that so that they can get a comms plan together. They can ensure that there's the right training in place. All of those great things will help people to adapt to the changes along the way. And then there's a sense of teaching people. So even though Tableau Quest is a training program in itself, it would be helping them to understand how the program comes together, making sure that there's time that's set aside for them to actually be delivering on the Tableau Quest and participating, having champions to run the quest as well, and have those champions also help the leaders to reinforce the great behaviors that they're seeing as the changes are coming through. So the biggest thing for me, why implementations of any tech fails, if you've got good tech, and Tableau is good tech, if you've got good tech and you're implementing that tech, the only reason that it will fail is because you haven't really thought about the implementation plan and how to get people on the journey to actually change. Because, spoiler alert, people don't like change. People like their habits.
Yeah, and just touching on that change as well. So what are some of the good things that you've seen with your deployment of Tableau Quest in terms of the cultural shift?
Look, I don't want to lie. It's never an overnight success, and that comes back to change as well. And what I was saying about people not enjoying the change. So especially when they've been doing a job already or using a tool already, why should I change? And what should I change along the way? So some of the things that I see is that usually you get one or two people at the very, very beginning who just get it. And when you identify those people, you really coach and nurture them through it. The things that I see at the beginning are you're going to have to say it over and over again. You're going to have repetition. You're going to need to keep encouraging people to come in, but then also celebrating what they're doing along the way. So all of those little mini milestones of progress, whether it's people elevating through the different levels or even some spectacular work on a challenge, highlighting that, sharing it, being transparent, try and keep it really open within an organization so other teams can see what you're doing and get a bit curious about it. Once people start to go through those level changes, they will get notified that they've got Credly badges. So these are digital credentials that they can share on their LinkedIn profile. And I tell you what, when that starts to happen and people are getting recognized externally, there's amazing things. So first, people feel really good. They get a dopamine hit from it. They're getting recognized externally. And also external people start to say, what's going on at that company? What are they doing? What's so special about them that they've got these programs in place where they've got their organization investing and building their skill set and capability, and the organization benefits from attracting great talent, but also retaining them as well.
Yeah, and I really like that recognition, because I feel sometimes in our roles, it can be a thankless task and people only talk up when something's gone wrong. Really like how you've embedded that into the Tableau Quest and encouraged as part of the process for stakeholders and peers and others to all kind of have their say and comment. And then I really like the external facing piece with the Credly badges as well, because I remember, seeing a lot of those badges coming through on LinkedIn and thinking, oh, this looks exciting. And you're right, you see them come through from particular companies and you think, what are they doing? This, they're really all in on Tableau, and it looks like they're really forging ahead. So I think that's a really critical part of what the Tableau Quest. Just going to jump into wondering if you can kind of share a bit of a real world success story from Tableau Quest.
Can I share a real world story from the Tableau Quest? So the thing that I would say is the biggest success from the Tableau Quest is the attrition benefits. So the lack of attrition that is going through the organisation. So benchmarked, we had 7.8% attrition, and that was compared to our organisation at the same time over the same period having 20% attrition in other roles. And then more industry-wide, looking at analytics and data, at that time that we were measuring, it was 35% attrition.
That's great, right? Like you're not just training people and elevating them, but you're retaining them as well. So all that knowledge is staying within the organisation.
100%. And when you retain that IP, people can get things done faster. They can get it done in a more elegant way as well. They also challenge themselves a bit more around, how can I do this better? And so we would have group sessions where we would give feedback on one another's workbook. For instance, I mentioned before that I used to use your Rats in New York City. We use that to create a workbook that would allow us to see across the hours of the day, because we were running 24 hours in all time zones, and across days of the week, where there were bottlenecks on the Ultrix server environment in terms of workflows being executed. People could come on and understand perhaps if things weren't really urgent, they could run it in a less busy time.
Yeah, I really like that. And because not only in Tableau Quest are you elevating individuals, but you're really building a sense of community within the people that are on the quest together, and potentially allowing them to collaborate across different business units and talk about potential problems that they're facing.
When you're working particularly in a global organisation where teams aren't on calls every day with one another, the place where they congregate is on the online platforms like Teams or Slack. Now, how do they have something in common beyond the type of work that they're doing? Well, programs like the Quest and the Adventure can help them to celebrate wins with people that they don't actually know in person, but there's a sense of camaraderie as well. So ambassadors can publish up the wins, and the rest of the team can come on and celebrate that win with them and congratulate them for the efforts that they've put into learning and developing their skill sets and capabilities. Beyond that, people can also get used to being more open about asking questions and not being afraid of saying, hey, does anyone know how to insert X, Y, and Z? And doing that in a more public forum. The beauty of creating a culture like that is you can get answers really quickly on the fly, but you need people to have confidence that they can post a question without having any repercussions of looking like idiots. All of these cultural elements that we work on to build the confidence within teams and giving them something like the Quest where it's not about the product that they're actually working on for the clients or stakeholders, but it's actually something fun. It's much easier for people to feel like they can support and congregate around that.
Yeah, nice. And what kind of commitment do you think the team members have to put in if they're on the Tableau Quest?
Sure. So I believe that every week people should have some form of learning for at least an hour. Ideally, there's different learning hours. So there might be an hour on feedback, and then there might be an hour on learning, because feedback is one way that we can all learn off one another, but it's also one way that makes people's stomachs flip. If we create time and space to do that regularly, it just means that people get more and more used to it. By setting aside an hour's worth of training each week, it doesn't always have to be on Tableau. You can find a way to, get into that momentum of making sure that you've got progress. As you mentioned earlier, you used to set aside an hour to do the Makeover Monday. That was something that you committed to. With the Tableau Quest, as you're getting started, especially when you're brand new to the platform, really important for that weekly occurrence to happen. As you start to get further up in your skill set and capability, there may be other areas that you want to learn in, but I suggest that you make sure that you're always moving forward so that you keep the memory of, or the muscle memory of how to learn.
Yeah, and so it's very much self-paced, isn't it? Like you're talking about having regular catch-ups and things, but everyone's at their own pace as well, aren't they? So there's no kind of game of catch-up or anything on the Tableau Quest.
Yeah, 100%. So people all learn at different paces, and the thing about the Quest is, whilst there are some specifics around training and certification that you can't avoid, you pretty much get to run your own game in terms of the different challenges that you do. So we do recommend doing a certain number of Workout Wednesdays because there's some amazing hooks that those people put into their Workout Wednesdays. But then there's a swath of other opportunities that you can do to do other challenges where you're creating visualization. So you could go through the back catalogue of Makeover Mondays, which is really easy because the data's all provided for you. But I love real world fake data, pulling down one of their old challenges and making sure that you're thinking about how can I visualize this type of data more, and really leveraging the power of Tableau Public to help you to understand the art of the possible. As an individual, you can choose what you're working on. There's different challenges at different levels that we ask you to complete along the way, but the speed at which you complete them, if you decide you want to spend 5 hours doing a Makeover Monday, and that's your choice, that's your journey. But someone else may do a Sarah and go off and do things fast because they just want to get into, I've got to learn how to be able to turn things around quickly so I can move on to the next program. So choose your own adventure.
Yeah. And I'll just confess here that my very early on ones were very basic, and I probably spent most of the time trying to figure out how to do the basics. But as I committed to 52 weeks, as I evolved, I did get better and have some more engaging visualizations. But I think that's great. It's a path to learning, isn't it? And kind of work to your energy levels as well, week to week, and what you've got available. Okay, Fee, for those that are listening and are like, oh, we need this. We need Tableau Quest in our corporation. How do you encourage leadership to come and buy into Tableau Quest?
Well, you've really got to understand what's driving them. Because if you try to go in and sell the quest to them and say, we need to be doing this, you're never going to be successful. Because the sad truth is that not a lot of leaders actually believe in investing time in people's skill set and capability. And there might be some lip service around it, but it can be quite difficult when they say, okay, well, if I've got 2,500 analysts, each taking an hour off each week to do this, that can be a significant cost over time to our organization. So you've really got to understand what are the things that are driving them. You can ask them questions. Why do you want Tableau to be successful? Why do you want our team to be successful? What's important to you? So you really get to understand the things that are going to be driving them. Probably a lot of them will say, we want to get cost out of our organization. We need to limit our costs. And so it could be that the quest is actually enabling the teams to move faster, so they've got more opportunity to solve problems, which is actually a reduced cost of, because you're getting the efficiencies of what they're doing. It's a really difficult question to answer, Sarah, because it really depends on every organization and every leader is different. my old leader was sold from the minute he heard gamification. So it wasn't an issue for him. He really believed in investing in skill set and capability and building that out to have an amazingly talented team who would want to continue and stay with us for as long as possible. So it really depends on the leader, what drives them, asking some good questions. If they're tied up in knots and you're not sure what to ask them, have a conversation with ChatGPT. Tell ChatGPT, I really want to convince or influence my manager to invest in a capability program like the Tableau Quest. That's a gamification program. It helps people to develop their skill sets. They're faster on development. They've got more consistent design. They've got better ways of visualizing data and telling stories so that the stakeholders get more value out of the content and adoption is therefore driven higher. What are some ways or some questions that I could ask, leading questions, so I understand what motivates them, and then help me to ask those and what some follow-up questions may be so that I can lead them towards the quest.
Yeah, I really like that. And I think that the focus here is finding out what is defined as successful within the organization and almost working backwards from there. And I think one of the other things you could always have in your pocket is around the retention as well, employee retention.
That's a great point around retention, Sarah. And I think not only retention, but hiring the most amazing and talented people out there as well. Because when you're hiring talent that is seeing how you're investing in people, they'll be of a certain type of culture and mindset, a growth mindset, where they want to belong to an organization that invests in its people. And then you get these really curious individuals who love to solve problems, and it's a snowball effect. So it's a really great way to help to not only do things internally, but also recruit as well.
Yeah, and seeing what's happening on LinkedIn, seeing those badges come through, and effectively seeing that your company is investing and is serious about leveling people up. That's going to really impact if you're looking for a job and you want to join a company that's serious about education and training. Yeah, really great. So, Fee, what's some of the impact on people's careers Tableau Quest has had?
Right. So as I was leaving JLL, I asked a few people whether or not they would be kind enough to put some recommendations on LinkedIn. And it's also something that's really lovely to reflect on. So I'll just read out a couple of things where I know that it's the gamification that's had an impact on people's careers. So first up is from Gemma, who's based out of the US. She says, Fee's impact on my career started before I even began at JLL. I learned all about JLL at a Tableau conference, Brain Day, what it takes to work for JLL, an initiative she put into motion. Though I hadn't heard of them before, I learned all about it and it sounded like a fantastic place to work. Fast forward 3 years, I've joined JLL, earned 2 certifications while participating in the Tableau and Ultrix gamified learning programs that she implemented. I'm so thankful for the opportunity that I've had to work at JLL, and I know that I'm a much better BI specialist because of the learning initiatives, attention to data best practices, and the data culture that Fee helped to cultivate here.
Wow. So all from a single brain day at a Tableau conference.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I've got a bit of goosies on that. And by the way, for that brain date, we were also issuing Credly badges as well. So we were getting people to promote that they were talking to us, and then more people wanted to come along and join us. So we hired, I think through my tenure there, I hired over 10 people through that kind of process because we were really identifying through a group session who might be a great cultural fit for the organisation.
Yeah, that's really great. And recruitment fees aren't cheap as well. So it's cost saving straight away.
100%. I wish that I'd got them all on referral fees, but because I was involved in it, I didn't get to cash in. I had another one here. Don't really want to blow my trumpet.
But, oh, come on.
I know. I just think that it's important to hear from other people rather than me about the impact that these programs have. So this is from Apri, and again, she's based out of the US. She said, Fee is an incredible asset to JLL. I greatly benefited from the gamification training programs that she launched, which enabled me to level up my Ultrix and Tableau expertise much more quickly than I'd been able to do on my own. She taught me an enormous amount about visual communication that I have and will continue to use in my career. She's an absolute star, organized, efficient. Anyway, to Apri's point, the gamified programs, because they're a little addictive, you kind of go through things a lot faster than what you would normally do in a training program. And that's where we see the benefits of the badges and also the momentum that's created.
Yeah, and just on momentum, what else do you see to kind of keep that momentum going? What are some of your tricks and tips that happen through the Tableau Quest?
Aside from having the weekly sessions that people come along and join, and you do chase people to come in and make sure that they're participating as well, getting their leaders to encourage it. There's some great things with the dashboards. So individuals have their own dashboard where they can log on. They can see their progress to date, what points they've collected, because not every challenge is worth the same amount of points. And then they see what they've done. They also see what they need to do to get to the next point or the next level. And they also see how they compare versus their peers. So they can see who's at the top of the game and perhaps who's at the bottom. It's really, really fast and engaging. And in addition to that, I recommend having manager dashboards so you can see who's doing what in your team, what progress they're making. And in your individual one-to-ones, you can encourage them to continue with their progress and, reinforce where they're doing really well. But if there hasn't been a lot of progress recently, maybe the work's really busy or maybe they're focusing on learning somewhere else, you can do a bit of an encouragement as a leader to get them back on track. So that leaderboard's a really good motivational tool. And in addition to the Credly badges, which people get a buzz out of learning, especially when you learn and you can put something on your LinkedIn profile and say, hey, I'm progressing through this.
Something that you said earlier on was around just having stakeholders comment, maybe it be on like social Slack channels that are internal or teams, depending on what you're using, having those channels and having that open conversation and encouraging people to use it and give credit.
And just digging deeper into that point around having other people reinforce the behaviors, I believe strongly that teams shouldn't lock themselves away in private teams. I believe that teams should have open channels where other departments and people can peek in and see what's going on and even join, because if you're doing some great things, people will see it. They will start to learn about what your team stands for, what you can deliver. And the more that occurs, the more investment you actually get into your space. It was one thing that I was really proud of. Even though we were a team of 150 at JLL, we had over 600 people joining our channels from the organization, and they would comment, they would get engaged. When I looked at the stats that I could see, that the team was actually punching above their weight in terms of the engagement. So there were the most posts on the channel, there were the most reactions. So it's building this culture where people feel like it doesn't matter that you're in the US or the UK or Poland or wherever you are, you can jump on board, you can have a conversation, and you can help one another out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so encouraging, and I'm guessing would have built a lot of momentum. And
yeah,
no. So I'm going to switch up a little bit now. I'm going to quick fire you with, just to warn you, 15 questions.
What? Hot seat moment.
Yeah. Exactly. So, quick fire round.
You're getting way too much pleasure out of this. Like, are you a sadist underneath it all?
I'm just thinking to myself, payback's going to be a bitch, isn't it? Because I can imagine when we do that, when we've swapped the tables, it'll be like, oh, I've just got 100 quick fire questions. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So
Yeah.
you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, no overthinking, just answer. Question number 1. What's the first word that comes to mind when you hear Tableau?
Fun.
Nice. What's the biggest myth about Tableau adoption?
That it just happens without any intervention.
Completely agree on that one. Number 3, if Tableau Quest were a movie, what would the title be?
Oh my God.
You're hating that I didn't let you prepare for this, aren't you?
If Tableau Quest were a movie, what would the title be? Oh. I'm just thinking of really bad movie titles. The Wolf of Wall Street. That's the first one that I can think of. I don't know, like,
It doesn't have to be an existing movie.
could be Moneyball.
Moneyball. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 4. The biggest face palm moment when you have seen a bad dashboard.
I'm going to talk more generally about this. One thing that's really difficult, having worked in data visualization for such a long time, and this is even pre-Tableau, I was, very much in this space, is that when people want to share what they've done and they're on their journey and they're coming to you with this real excitement about, look at what I've done, and if it's not one of the top people coming through, there's things that you can see, and it's like, how do I give them subjective feedback, or where do I focus the feedback on? Because I don't just want to list 100 different things for them that they could be doing better. What are the 3 things that they could look at, and giving them some pointers around it? So I think my biggest facepalm moment is in my career as well, is how do you figure that out and figure it out on the fly? It's really difficult, and definitely there's an art to it. For anyone that stuffs it up, my biggest advice is be vulnerable and say, hey, I didn't quite say that right. And I remember doing this with you the other day. Oh, no, that came out wrong. Let me try again. And that really reflects on, I don't want it to be an awkward conversation, and I don't want to crush your spirit, but at the same time, there are things that you could be doing that would make it better.
Was it that exploding pie chart I was trying to get across the line?
Never.
Never
happened. Never happened.
Okay, number 5. One thing you wish every Tableau user would just stop doing.
One thing I wish that every Tableau user would stop doing is, can I have 2?
Sure. Yeah, you're not exactly hitting the quick fire anyway, so you might as well break that rule as well.
Listen, I blame it on you in 15 questions. So first up, stop vomiting colour onto the page. Actually start with something that's almost grey and seeing where you can layer the colour into to make it really effective. Not every chart needs a different colour.
Nice.
The second thing is more a personal preference. Love to hear your impression on this, but I would love every Tableau user to stop using Viz and tooltips. I think that they can be really busy, perhaps use a sheet swap. Used occasionally, it's fine, but not everything needs to be a Viz and tooltip.
I remember when they first came out, it was very exciting. They're not the fastest thing to use, and I think they can overwhelm the user. So I do really like that sheet swapping as well, as long as you've got all your action buttons set up well and the user knows how to get out of the sheet. I think that's one thing that tooltips is good at, is it's obvious.
Right. So I think, the reason why is that when you're waving your mouse across the screen, it'll be flashing up different images if you've got all of these Viz and tooltips, and it's very distracting, and it reminds me of early 2000s websites where you've got pop-ups and everything happening. So really thinking about what that user journey looks like, it's important.
Yeah, agreed. What's your go-to hack for making a dashboard instantly better?
Color and padding.
White spaces.
White space. Yeah.
Favorite chart that you go to?
Bar chart.
Yes. If you could steal one data skill from anyone, what would it be?
That's easy. I would be Andy Kriebel. Because he's just got all the mad skills.
All the skills. What's more important, data storytelling or technical skills?
So I don't think that every dashboard needs to have data storytelling. But what every dashboard or workbook should have is insight that's been pulled out of it. So if you're referring to that, then I would say the storytelling insight piece. Otherwise, you've got to have the technical skills to pay the bills.
You do. Question number 10. Worst excuse you've heard for not using Tableau properly?
I can do it in Excel.
Can I print that?
Yeah, can I download the data?
Number 11. Best song to power through a dashboard build?
I don't know that it's particular songs, but some good doof music helps to get me going.
Yeah, maybe a playlist instead.
Yeah.
Would you rather fix a broken data set or untangle permissions house?
I mean, permissions hell is easy. How about you?
I think permissions, you just need to set up your groups properly. A broken data set, I'm like, oh, how big's the data set? How broken is it? I'm thinking back to my SQL days of having screens and screens of SQL. Oh, that everyone was working on, and only half of us would comment to what we were doing in there. Yes, giving me goosebumps in a bad way on that one. Number 13, AI in Tableau, a game changer or just hype?
PPC. I think there's a lot of hype. Let's step out of Tableau and go into any platform. There's a lot of hype that's out there and a lot of things that can go wrong. We talk about even GPT hallucinating. So I think, there's a lot of hype, but, future-wise, there's a lot of opportunity.
Agreed. And I think, the main thing is getting the right use cases.
Right.
14, almost there, almost at the end. One tool other than Tableau that you can't live without.
One tool that I can't live without is Google Workspace because it's how we connect all the time. And it's not a data tool. I'm not going to go in and say this or that. Like, there's a lot of tools that are important, but for me, the connection with you is the most important right now.
Oh, how lovely. I was going to say ChatGPT.
Oh, well, nice to know.
Because I can talk to that as well, now. Okay, lucky last, number 15. If you had to describe Tableau Quest in 3 words, what would they be?
Learn, practice, and certify.
It didn't do too bad. I'm not sure if all of them were quick fire, but hey, we got through. Stay tuned for that.
I think that you're asking too much. Usually in a quick fire round, you might give people 5. Like, what a movie buff. Like, that's what bloody movie it is.
You could have made up your own movie title.
Oh, as if. Like,
Well, Fee, it's been great having you here on the other side of the fence, and I can't wait till you repay the favour.
Yeah.
Learning all about Tableau Quest. We are undubbed, we're unfiltered, unscripted, and undeniably data. I hope you've really enjoyed tuning in today.
Yeah, follow us on your favorite podcast. We've actually just started adding videos onto Spotify, so if that's your preferred channel, you might enjoy that too. We're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts, and we also have our wonderful community that we love catching up with. So if you haven't joined the community yet, make sure that you connect with us. It's just starting out. You could be one of our founding members, so we really look forward to seeing you there and continuing the conversation. Don't forget, like, subscribe, review, tell us where we're doing well, tell us where we suck, and then look forward to catching up with you again on the podcast soon.
See ya.
Thanks. Bye.